Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? Not because someone said anything, but simply because of their presence. There's a silent force we all carry, yet few ever tap into it. We live in a world that constantly tells us we must adapt, conform, and blend in. From early childhood, we're taught to fit the mold, not challenge it. But what if you weren't meant to fit in? What if you were designed to be the thermostat, not the thermometer? To set the tone, not just reflect it. Most people go through life reacting to whatever is happening around them. They let their environment dictate their mood, their choices, even their identity. When circumstances are tough, they shrink. When people are negative, they absorb it. When chaos arises, they retreat. But deep down, there's a question that refuses to be silenced. What if I could shift this atmosphere instead of submitting to it? That question isn't random. It's a whisper from something powerful inside you. Influence isn't just for the loud or the famous. It's for the person who knows who they are and refuses to be defined by what surrounds them. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't need a title to lead. True influence begins the moment you decide to live with purpose, regardless of the noise around you. You weren't born to adjust to the environment. You were born to impact it. Whether it's your home, your job, or your community, your presence has the power to bring clarity where there's confusion, peace where there's tension, and vision where there's drift. The only question left is, will you claim that power or keep hiding from it? We all live in environments shaped by people, systems, culture, and unseen forces that influence how we think, behave, and grow. From the moment we wake up, our surroundings begin speaking to us, sometimes with encouragement, but often with limitations. They subtly tell us what we can or cannot become, where we fit, and how far we're allowed to go. Many of us don't even realize we're being shaped, molded quietly by the energy around us, the conversations we're part of, and the standards we've learned to accept. And for a lot of people, this becomes a life of quiet frustration, because deep within, there's a conflict between what they're living in and what they feel they're meant to be. It's easy to believe that the environment is in control, especially when you've experienced pressure, rejection, or consistent negativity. We start to adjust ourselves to survive. We compromise, shrink back, and silence the inner voice that once had big dreams. Instead of asking how to change things, we ask how to get by. That's how influence dies, not with an explosion, but with silence. But here's the truth. The environment you live in does not have the final say over your life. In fact, you were created with the ability to shape the very atmosphere that seems to limit you. Influence is not something reserved for the charismatic or the outspoken. It's something that flows from identity, purpose, and consistency. Every single person has the capacity to change the atmosphere around them, not through force, but through intentional living. When someone walks in clarity, speaks with conviction, and acts from principle, the environment begins to respond. People notice, culture shifts, standards rise. It's not magic, it's alignment. The world doesn't change because of noise. It changes because of people who choose to be different, no matter what surrounds them. You don't have to leave your environment to start making an impact. In fact, influence begins when you understand why you're in that environment in the first place. You were placed there for a reason. The chaos, the silence, the tension, maybe they all exist because someone like you hasn't stepped into their full potential yet. And when you do, everything changes. Influence is not about dominance, it's about direction. The moment you discover that, your presence will stop blending in and start transforming the space around you. One of the greatest struggles people face today is the overwhelming pressure to conform to their surroundings. From family expectations and societal standards to workplace culture and peer influence, it's easy to find yourself silently adapting just to keep peace or avoid conflict. Over time, many begin to lose touch with who they really are. They don't speak up when something feels off. They don't pursue ideas that might seem too bold or different. They learn to stay within the lines, not because they lack ideas or strength, but because their environment doesn't encourage originality, boldness, or purpose-driven action. This creates a cycle of internal conflict. On the outside, everything may seem normal. Routine jobs, stable relationships, familiar conversations, but on the inside, something feels unsettled. There's a quiet voice whispering, "There's more than this." That voice gets drowned out by noise. The demands of daily life, the fear of failure, the weight of expectations, and eventually most people accept their circumstances as unchangeable. They believe that if their environment doesn't change, they can't change either. The real problem isn't just the environment, it's the mindset that the environment has more power than the individual. This belief keeps people stuck, playing small, afraid to challenge the culture around them. It tells them that influence is for the elite, that leadership requires permission, and that making a difference is for someone else. But when you give your environment that kind of authority, you surrender your ability to lead. You stop being an agent of change and become a product of the system. And the challenge is the fear of isolation. Influencing your environment means standing out, and standing out often means standing alone. That's a scary place to be. It's more comfortable to go with the flow, even if the flow leads to nowhere. The fear of being misunderstood, criticized, or rejected keeps people from stepping into their true role as influencers. They hide their gifts, dim their light, and play roles that were never theirs to begin with. Until this belief is broken, until people realize they can carry influence without waiting for permission, the cycle continues, environments remain unchanged, cultures stay stagnant, and individuals continue living lives that are smaller than their potential. The challenge isn't the environment itself, it's the belief that you're powerless within it. That belief is the first wall that must be torn down. Influencing your environment begins with a deep understanding of who you are. When you lack clarity about your identity and purpose, it becomes easy to be swayed by the dominant energy around you. But when you know who you are, you no longer adapt to every surrounding, you start to shape it. Influence is not about position or popularity. It's about the internal authority that comes from alignment between your values, your vision, and your action. People may not always agree with you, but they'll feel your presence when it's grounded in something real. One of the most powerful ways to influence an environment is through consistency. Anyone can put on a show for a moment, but true impact is made when someone lives out their principles day after day. When you're consistent in character, in decisions, in attitude, people begin to take notice. They may not say it out loud, but they begin to adjust. Your example becomes a silent leader. Your words carry weight not because they're loud, but because they're backed by a life of integrity. Another key element is awareness. You must be aware of what your environment lacks and how your strengths can serve it. Influence is not just about shining, it's about serving. It's about stepping into places of confusion and offering clarity, into places of division and offering unity, into places of fear and offering courage. This requires sensitivity and emotional intelligence. You can't influence what you don't understand. That's why self-reflection, observation, and intentional listening are crucial. They help you identify the gaps and reveal where your influence is needed most. Your environment doesn't change simply because you wish it would. It changes when you act with purpose and conviction. Small acts, choosing kindness when others are cold, speaking truth when others stay silent, showing excellence when others cut corners. Over time, your behavior starts to become a new standard. Others begin to imitate, adopt, and eventually embrace the shift you've introduced. Ultimately, development as an influencer requires courage. You'll have to go against trends, challenge toxic norms, and sometimes stand alone. But when you operate from truth, your courage becomes contagious. Your environment will resist at first, but it can't ignore someone who lives with conviction. That's how influence grows, not by forcing change, but by becoming the change others can't deny. There comes a pivotal moment in every journey where the decision must be made. Will you keep adjusting to your environment, or will you start shaping it? This moment often doesn't arrive with fanfare or applause. It comes quietly in the middle of frustration, disappointment, or a rising sense that you've outgrown the limitations around you. It's in this space of discomfort that something powerful happens. You stop asking for things to change and you start realizing that you are the change. Maybe it happens when you're in a meeting where silence enables mediocrity and you decide to speak up, not to confront, but to elevate the standard. Maybe it's in your home when you decide that dysfunction stops with you, or in your community where instead of complaining about what's wrong, you take action toward what's right. This moment is not about the size of the action. It's about the shift in mindset. It's when you finally recognize that the permission you've been waiting for isn't coming because you were never meant to wait for it. You were meant to lead. This is the turning point, when you stop measuring your influence by how others respond and start measuring it by how aligned you are with your purpose. It's the moment when fear no longer has the final say. When you speak even if your voice shakes. When you move even if your feet are trembling. When you lead even if no one claps. Something inside you rises, a clarity, a boldness, a peace that says, this is what I was made for. From that moment on, your presence carries a different weight. You stop blending into the background. People begin to notice a shift, not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. The environment begins to respond. Conversations change, energy shifts, standards rise, not because you forced them to, but because you finally stood in your truth. That moment of decision unlocks influence. It's the moment you become more than a participant in your environment, you become a leader within it. And once that happens, there's no going back. You've activated a force that begins transforming not only what's around you, but everyone connected to it. Influencing your environment is not about overpowering others or forcing your ideas onto a space. It's about realizing that the strength to lead already exists within you, waiting to be awakened. It doesn't require a position, wealth, or a platform. It begins with a choice to stop living beneath your potential, a choice to stop waiting for the perfect conditions. A choice to step into the role of a transformer, someone who doesn't just observe what's wrong, but embodies what's right. When you understand that you were born to be more than a reflection of your environment, everything shifts. You begin to see your workplace, your home, your social circles, not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Every conversation becomes a chance to bring clarity. Every challenge becomes a stage for growth. And every moment you choose to act with intention becomes a ripple that shapes the world around you. The truth is, most people never influence their environment because they never believe they can. They see themselves as small, insignificant, or unqualified, but the world doesn't change because of qualifications. It changes because of courage, vision, and consistency. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be willing to start. Influence grows with action, not intention. If you've ever felt out of place, it could be because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by negativity, maybe it's because you were sent to bring a new tone. You carry solutions that your environment hasn't seen yet, but they'll never be revealed until you take the first step toward leading with purpose. The journey won't be easy. Resistance will come. You'll be misunderstood at times, but your impact will speak louder than the obstacles. As you walk in alignment with your values and live with clarity, your environment will begin to reflect your influence. People will grow. Cultures will shift. Spaces will transform. You don't have to change the whole world to make a difference. Just start where you are. Influence isn't something you wait for. It's something you walk in. And the moment you decide to lead from the inside out, your environment will begin to respond in ways you never imagined. That's where true transformation begins. Now's the time to stop waiting for permission and start walking in purpose. The environments around you, your home, your workplace, your relationships, your community, are not random. They are the exact places where your influence is most needed. You weren't placed there to blend in. You were placed there to make a difference, to raise the standard, to bring clarity where there's confusion, and to lead by example, not by force. This is your call to rise up and own your influence. No more shrinking back. No more silence when truth needs to be spoken. No more playing small to keep others comfortable. The time has come to lead, not later, not someday, now. Influence isn't about being loud or aggressive. It's about being intentional. It's about showing up fully with character, with conviction, and with a commitment to live out what you believe, even when no one else is doing it. Start by identifying the environments you are already part of. Look at where frustration exists, where dysfunction is tolerated, where people are lost, discouraged, or simply going through the motions. Those are the places where your presence is most powerful. Don't underestimate the impact of consistency, integrity, and quiet strength. You don't have to wait for a spotlight. You just have to start being the light. Take practical steps. Set the tone in your conversations. Bring excellence to your work. Encourage others who are stuck in survival mode. Show what it looks like to live with vision, purpose, and principle. Influence doesn't always look like a revolution. It often begins with one person deciding to live differently. You have everything you need to start now. Stop looking outside for the change you meant to bring. The influence you're seeking to see begins with the decisions you make today. Don't just be a product of your environment. Be a leader in it. Stand firm, speak truth, and walk in purpose. Your environment is waiting. Now lead.